Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about learning to speak French in a fun way. Now, originally during my sort of language learning process, I was not kind of trying to speak the language, especially sort of at the start, because that's something that can be quite anxiety invoking, a bit stressful, trying to understand what people are saying, then trying to think of my response in the other language as well. So this is like a good tip I've definitely learned from different sort of polyglots and people like that I've been watching online. But so at the moment, I'm trying to learn Arabic and French. And in particular, I'm going to France in a few months. So I've got this French challenge that I'm doing. I'll make sure to have a link to the video where I speak about that. So when I went to France previously, I was really struggling trying to speak the language and I really wanted to interact and communicate with people. And previously, I've kind of tried to learn languages and just kind of failed and couldn't kind of stick to it. So what I wanted to do, and one of the goals of me learning language is to try and keep it fun and try and stick to it. And what I've realized is that, there is actually a fun way for me to start sort of speaking a language. And, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So welcome. On this channel, I talk about my journey learning languages as a Muslim, and I try to share the best tips that I find. Now, why am I now starting to speak a language? Whereas previously I, was saying, oh no, it's not a good idea to speak a language. Well, as I said before, I'm doing this French challenge where I want to kind of surprise my wife by speaking French when I go to France in the summer. One thing I realized is that I need to get my speaking muscles going, because that was a sort of struggle for me when I got out to France. My jaw, my brain, everything kind of needs to work together and just get those juices and everything kind of going. So I need to kind of get used to speaking language, even though originally I said that I thought that could be quite stressful and anxiety invoking. Now, speaking a language does take a while, and usually a good way to kind of get into speaking a language is by building that kind of understanding of the language. And when you're speaking that language, you want to be able to understand it well before you kind of really go full on into speaking. Now, when I have tried speaking before, so I was in a boulangerie in France, I was trying to speak to the person there, who was really friendly, by the way, out in Lille, but he was sort of asking me questions. It was quite fast. I couldn't quite understand it properly, and I was kind of really struggling with that. So that kind of made me think about that. If speaking is stressful, then should you be waiting until you understand the language really well before you actually start to speak? Now, that's what I used to think. I thought, okay, I need to understand the language really well. And that is a good kind of strategy that a lot of people use. But however, it means that there's a long time before my muscles and everything start speaking and building up that practice. So my long-term goal is to communicate with people in French as well. I don't want to just be sort of understanding as well. So that's why I've kind of now come across the opinion that what I'm going to do is I'm going to start speaking early and try to, get those muscles and everything going. And, I definitely want to do that in a fun way. So how do you go about doing this in a fun way? And this is something that I've been kind of thinking a lot about, and I've seen a lot of videos as well. And this is something that kind of really works for me. And that is basically just to start saying phrases/sentences and not to have a conversation. So what I am doing is I am actually sort of practicing my speaking skills by just saying specific phrases, specific words, and I'm exercising everything in my brain. All of that is kind of working in connection. And a really good thing about this is that it feels great. I'm actually speaking French, but also it's making these little steps. But also at the same time, it's not like stressful or provoking a lot of anxiety, because I'm just saying phrases. I'm not actually getting into full-blown conversations with people. And I find that this is really building my confidence. And, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm actually speaking another language. There's like a really important thing there. It's like almost like an important milestone. Hey, I can actually do this. Another added benefit of speaking a language that kind of helps me understand the language better. So I'm finding that it's kind of reinforcing the ideas and the grammar and the things that I've been kind of going over before. And let me give you a really good example of this. So one of the phrases I've been looking is c'est un euro, which means it is like €1. So if you're looking at how much does something cost and someone says c'est un euro. And so basically it's just saying that, it costs €1. And now in French, you don't usually say the last letter of a word unless the next word begins with a vowel. Now, in this really simple example, you pronounce this cest, so you pronounce the T in the C-E-S-T, c'est un euro, like because the next word starts with a vowel. Otherwise, it would be c'est. So you don't say the T. So this is like a really interesting thing that I kind of picked up and really kind of reinforces that whole idea of how you pronounce French just by me speaking and doing these sort of exercises. Now, a really important thing is to make sure that, you know, I had the text and the audio together, because I kind of use them together. I listen to it, I read it, and then I kind of say it. And I just kind of keep doing that. And it's really important because I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing everything in the correct way. And another really useful tip that I've seen as well, learning sentences helps understand grammar and words. So what I used to do a lot before was just try and learn individual words. And I found out, I found that kind of not fun and kind of boring, whereas now I find learning sentences much better. It helps my understanding, helps my grammar, and I also feel like I'm kind of being more efficient and more productive in learning language that way, because I'm kind of picking up words, but also I'm picking up grammar and things like that all at the same time. And speaking just gives you another angle, another way to kind of practice your language learning kind of skills. And it's definitely something, thinking about it now, I wish I sort of started earlier actually. So I'm really glad that I'm doing it now. And another thing I'll probably just want to say, just in general really, it's always kind of easy to understand things by doing, rather than just trying to understand things, like in my case with grammar, just by trying to read some detailed grammar rules in a book or something. So, you know, sometimes grammar can be difficult to explain just by word, but just by doing certain examples, it kind of really helps you understand it. Just by saying things, you just automatically kind of figure out things. And also it's always good to kind of learn things in different ways as well. So you know, it's good to read those grammar rules, but also just to practice and just take action, and doing things like that I feel has helped me massively. Now, if you're looking for some good starting points for some phrases, there's a YouTuber called Zhao NYC, YouTuber, Instagrammer, influencer, what have you. He's got a great channel. I've spoken about it before, where he kind of learns languages and surprises people out on the street by speaking in those languages, and he's got free food and things like that. He's done some in Chinese, in Thai, Bengali, Punjabi. Like, I mean, he speaks so many languages. It's really cool how people end up kind of giving him free food as well. Just because, oh wow, amazing, he's kind of learned their language. And he's got like a course called Street Smart Languages. Now, I'm not using that course or anything, but one of the things he does is, if you sign up to his email newsletter list, he gives you something called magic sentences, and I'll make sure to have a link to that in the description. So if you're interested in getting those phrases, please feel free to do that. He provides you with the audio and he provides you with the sentences. So it's a really nice starting point. I'm kind of looking around for kind of more resources as well. So yeah, just want to say thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps with the algorithm. Assalamu alaikum.